but the reason why I wanted to get you on again today is because yesterday we had Adam on, and we were going to get on earlier to talk, but he jumped on early, so we just kind of started the podcast. But what I wanted to talk about was the upcoming Illinois Matmen card has it's like a showcase event. It's happening preseason wrestling. They're putting a duel together, and there's a few individuals from our area that are going to wrestle on it. So I figured, one, we could talk about the event, the concept of the event, the idea of getting this type of card stuff going at the high school level, and what you guys thought about it. And then I was going to pull up the picture with the people that are scheduled to wrestle, and then we kind of could talk about that.
Sounds good.
That was great.
So yeah, what do you guys think about that? About the cards and stuff now, anyways?
I think anything that we can get going like this, that's like a preseason all-star duel or whatever you want to call it, is awesome for the sport because it builds more fan base and some anticipation. And it's like we talk about in college, you see some great college duels and there's some great matchups that you're looking forward to. And sometimes they just don't happen. Someone sits out where, this gets some of those matchups, at least here in Illinois, that, I'd like to see. So it's going to be cool.
I think there's 9 matches that are kids from Northern Illinois, if I'm doing my math correct.
Yeah, so I circled all of them in red.
Well, it's actually square.
Okay, square. Sorry, it's kind of rounded. It's a little round.
Yeah, your drawing's rounded.
8. I think I have 8 counted.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9. 1, 2.
Yeah, 9, right?
9.
No, the middle one here is not 1. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
9. We'll put it at 9.
All right. Well, we can start with.
We're claiming one more.
The Hananiga wrestlers, the Cassiopes, the entire family's wrestling. Rocco and Bruno.
The question here, and I don't know, Marty, you have an answer, or maybe don't you do, but the Cassiopes were slated to wrestle up in Michigan and somewhere else, and I don't know, they ended up not going. Was there?
I don't know anything about it.
I knew they were kind of going up there, but this is way better because it's in the state of Illinois,
right?
And now they both can wrestle at a weight class that maybe they're going to be at this year, which is good.
Yeah. I didn't know if they were injured or something. That's why they had backed out of Michigan, or just decided not to go.
Yeah, they probably saw this was a great idea.
Yeah.
You're going to see both of them wrestle and their sister, and we're going to see TJ Silva, who's a Hananiga now. So we're going to, there's.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
There's 4 matches. Kids from Hananiga.
Well, and as we look at them, I mean, it's kind of funny. You got, the Tennyson against Cassiope, which could have been just a conference duel and a conference finals match.
Sure could have been.
But
somebody has to go after the golden egg.
Someone
is.
Out there. Yeah. Well, we can go through. So another one from the area, a kid that I train, Jimmy Massney. He's also wrestling as a freshman. So this is his first year in high school. He's wrestling Gunnar Gorelli, who's ranked number 2. And I haven't looked at the rankings, so I don't really know who's ahead of these guys. But I know Gunnar's been wrestling for a while, so he's a worthy competitor.
I think Gorelli, he might have placed last year.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Colin Young, who's on the card too, beat him down at, or split with him maybe.
He lost to him at the Sycamore tournament.
Then I thought he beat him at Geneseo, but I could be wrong there.
That might be true. They might be 1-1.
He might have beat someone else down at Geneseo that ended up placing, but I thought he split with the Gorelli kid for some reason. So I mean, either way, the Gorelli kid, I mean, he's coming back. He's a state place winner. It's a tough match for incoming freshman in the middleweights to go into.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah, and then you got Colin Young. He's another kid from the area wrestling. Matt Jens. I met this kid the other day. So he's a 2A state champ. Do you remember last year? Marty, you didn't get to the state tournament last year.
No.
But were you there?
I didn't go down. No.
Okay. Yeah, he won state. So yeah, this is going to be interesting to see how much development Colin has made over the summer and into the fall. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, the Tennyson Cassiope match. From what do you guys remember from last season? Who do you think? What do you got for this one?
Well, I have a Cassiope every time. There's no doubt.
I gotta go. Even though Tennyson's left, I still go with him. He's Belvedere kid. Even though he wrestles for a different school, he's still a Belvedere kid.
Not really.
I mean, what's that?
Not really.
If you still live in Belvedere, you're still a Belvedere kid, aren't you?
Technically, yes.
Yeah, but I mean,
that's a whole other story with me.
But I mean, he took second in state last year. I mean, he was pretty.
Well,
he was pretty dominant throughout state. I mean, he won every tournament except for Dvorak, where he finished. I mean, his only 3 losses last year were to Minaretto. He beat everybody else. I mean, I know these two are public trained, so it'll be an interesting match.
Where's he at now?
Woodstock Marion.
Where's he? Is he at Immaculate Conception?
No, he's at Woodstock Marion.
Woodstock Marion, okay.
Yeah, no. The young kid is at Elmhurst, ICC, or wherever he supposedly moved to.
Well, it'd be a good test for the Cassiope kid, though.
Yeah, I mean, if he's able to come in and wrestle right there with him, then that's going to say a lot for his ability to do well at the state tournament. So that will be a very good challenge for him. Also, so 2 girls from the conference are wrestling, Cassiope and Wixon. So that's cool that they're now. This is the youngest, right? The Rose is.
Yeah, Rose is already at Iowa.
Okay. Yeah. And is there another one? Because
they
do have a lot of.
She'll be at Iowa too, and the 2 twins will be at Iowa. It'll all be good.
Look at that.
Everyone will be at Iowa.
Everybody will be at Iowa. They'll have a family reunion there.
Yeah. So the Boylan, I didn't. Sometimes it's hard to know what's going on with other conference programs unless they come on the podcast, right? But because didn't it's hard to say. I don't even know. But Natavia Wixon, she's a state champ from Boylan. She's wrestling. And then TJ Silva, who's at Hononegah now, was at Dakota for the last 2 years or 3 years? 3 years, right?
2, I think.
2. I think he's only a junior, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So as a junior, he's now at Hononegah. And Gage Ship from Galesburg. I watched him win last year. And I watched TJ win last year. So 2 state champions. So this is going to be a interesting matchup and a good. I mean, TJ's jumping from single A to 3A. So it's going to be, he's going to have I don't know, a tough transition, but
he won't.
Well, I'm just saying that there is definitely at 132 pounds, there's going to be a lot of skilled guys. Yeah. So, I mean, I could go through, I don't even know where Ben Davino's at, what weight he's around there.
I think he's right there.
That Daniel Garcia.
I think that's who TJ wrestled in the finals of the Dvorak.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so it'll be good for him. And then Noah Wenzel from Dakota is wrestling. So 8 matches out of the, let's see, I think
I thought I counted 9.
21 matches.
He's
yeah,
counting them
20,
right now.
I think
Yeah.
22 matches. So 8 out of the 22 matches are people from the Northern Illinois area. And, obviously I've defined the Northern Illinois area based on the 3 conferences and the schools within those conferences. But obviously I could extend that to a lot of places, but still a good showing, even though some of them are no longer on a conference team. It's pretty good to know that there's some athletes in their area that are wrestling in that.
Yeah, it's awesome. I might even watch.
Yeah, are you a subscriber to Rockfin?
I am. I'm a subscriber to anything that has wrestling.
I got you. Well, if you're a subscriber to Rockfin, you'll be able to see it. It's on
Yeah.
Illinois Matmen.
You know what they're doing now though? The UFC Fight Pass.
Yeah.
They're showing a bunch of college wrestling this year now. So now I told Marianne, I said we're gonna have to research this and see what dual meets there are. But I mean, the UFC has partnered with the NCAA wrestling. They partnered with Iowa for sure, but obviously now they're trying to partner with the NCAA wrestling too. I mean, that's
smart. I mean,
yeah, that's their whole train right into the UFC.
I was going to say it's a transition for those kids.
Yeah.
Right into it.
Yeah, it's going to have I mean, there's going to be a lot. They definitely are getting into the business of building stars earlier on, right? A lot of these college wrestling guys are pretty big stars in wrestling, but Bo Nickel, if he was being I guess marketed while he was in college through the UFC, then he'd be even bigger than he is right now as far as a combat sports star. But he's pretty big. But yeah, I think they want to fast track some of these guys into careers in MMA, and that's pretty good because I had this conversation with Brandon Lesdowski the other day, and I'd be curious what you guys think, because he was talking about a kid that does jiu-jitsu 3 nights a week, and he didn't want to go to practice. And Brandon was like, no, I got to have him wrestle and practice. He's got to go to wrestling practice. And so I said, why? And he, like, if somebody was motivated to do jiu-jitsu 3 nights a week and motivated to do wrestling practice 3 nights a week, would you be okay with it? How would you guys feel as coaches?
No, if it's wrestling season, it's 100% wrestling. You can't let kids come and go in a program. That's how the program fails. You have to, if they're committed to wrestling like in high school or wherever, you're wrestling in that, you're going to practice every time. Work out another time to go to jiu-jitsu. You get done, most practices are done before 6 o'clock at night. Go to jiu-jitsu at 7 o'clock at night. Do the extra stuff. Let's look at Adam McCullough last night. They did other things, but those guys were never missed. Well, nobody. I mean, it was if you missed 2 practices at 180, you were gone. It's just how it was.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off,
Go ahead.
Marty.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say I 100% agree because once you open it up, even though it's jiu-jitsu, well, now you got this kid. Well, I'm going to go. I got 2 nights a week where I'm doing baseball. So when it's wrestling season, it's wrestling season. You're in the practice room, you're working with your team. That's how you develop a team. You can't develop a whole team program with kids coming and going. That's my thought.
You can't.
So, and I know there's a lot of crossover between the two with jiu-jitsu and wrestling, but it's still not the same. And again, you got to be committed to the team.
Yeah. Well, I guess here's my perspective but what is the goal? What if the specific athlete doesn't want to compete in wrestling, only wants to train in wrestling? Their only goal is to get into mixed martial arts after high school.
Then go to jiu-jitsu every night and don't come out for wrestling.
Yeah.
But what if
Find
they
a
want to? What
wrestling
if they
coach
want to
to
learn
practice that
wrestling?
part-time. What's that?
But what if their objective as a high school student is just to learn wrestling, just to practice in wrestling?
Well, then go wrestle jujitsu. I'm just telling you, go
Yeah.
wrestle. I don't know how many times.
But
I
how
played
does it make
jujitsu.
sense? So how does this make it? But so do you think an athlete or a student, not an athlete, a student should be able to go out for wrestling and not compete at all?
No, totally wrong.
Why?
Because you got to wrestle. Okay, go out for football and stand on the sidelines. See what's going to happen if you let that happen. Those kids aren't even going to show up to a dual meet. If they're not going to wrestle, they won't even be there to support their team. The whole thing circumferences around a wrestling team. It's not a wrestling individual. In high school, it's a team. The biggest goal you could ever achieve in high school is to be a team state championship. Because in that team state championship, you're going to have state place winners. Because the only way you're a good team is to have great kids. And the only way that you can determine your team, you're only as good as your worst wrestler on that team. And if you let kids like not even go to a meet to watch, not even it's way out of whack. I'm sorry. I'm just like totally.
We were before the podcast, we were talking about gym class and how the potential of like eliminating a gym class and how negative that could be on society as a whole, giving young people an opportunity to get their physical energy out and have this outlet for them. It's always been my view that, wrestling is just a after school physical activity that they have the opportunity to engage in. And if they want to compete in it, then there is this opportunity to compete in it in the form of dual meets and tournaments through the season. I've seen so many kids that were like, first year, second year wrestlers that wanted to come out for wrestling. And the moment we started to compete, that's when they quit. And a couple kids I even allowed just to go to practice, and they stayed practicing, and they stayed practicing. But I would be asked by the athletic director, why aren't they wrestling? It's like, my position is that was physical activity. So why isn't a wrestling program an extension of the gym class?
Well, here's the thing. There's a thing in sports. If you participate in a sport after school, it's called commitment. Just like in what's wrong with our society right now. There's a lot of people that aren't committed to one thing. So many people change over I stayed at the same school for 33 years. Dan, you're the same way. I mean, you're talking to the wrong people to talk about this. Like, no, you're wrong. It is called commitment, and it's called building a team.
I guess my only pushback is that we're just leading into that UFC is sponsoring NCAA wrestling and
Right.
how the UFC is getting into the business of wrestling. And, if the UFC gets in the business of wrestling, how many Olympic champions are not going to go to the Olympics and instead transition into MMA right away, because there's way more financial upside than the Olympic wrestling. Jordan Burroughs is one of the, if not the most decorated Olympic champion wrestler in American history. And he is not making more money than Chael Sonnen, who wasn't even an NCAA champion. So
True, but
there's
I don't. The guys
large change. I mean, even Justin Gaethje, who couldn't wrestle at all to the level of Jordan Burroughs, is making more money in MMA than wrestling. So I'm just saying, if the world is transitioning into this combat sports, mixed martial arts, I think wrestling is going to evolve towards that anyways, because of the opportunity. There's way more opportunity with MMA than there is with wrestling, and there's way more people that enjoy watching MMA than wrestling. So wrestling is just a part of the martial art. Wrestling is one martial art in the holistic combat sports martial art of MMA, mixed martial arts.
But we still haven't got back to a kid who wants to go wrestling practice and then wants to go do his jujitsu. That doesn't work. We still got to figure that one. It all starts there. You know what it starts with? It starts with the coaching and the whole ideology of what is important at that time in their life. All right. There's if that kid comes out for wrestling, obviously you're going to make that important. It doesn't matter if it's the greatest kid on the team or the worst kid on the team. You make them feel great, and then after those kids are done, and think, yeah, I got jujitsu practice at 6 o'clock at night. Go all you want. Or I got hockey practice. I mean, I went through it. We had kids that played hockey and wrestled.
Yeah.
You know what? They went to wrestling first.
Yeah, and I think I think there's easily enough time to do both. Like to again, we talked, like you said, we talked to Adam Latella, and I know my own personal experience. Right after practice, you have more practice. It's not like you don't just have one practice a day. If you really are committed to being great, you do have multiple practices. You work out by yourself as well with the team. So I do think that you could easily do it all. I just was curious what you thought because of this transition. I mean, again, 10 years from now, wrestling is going to look completely different because of the influence that comes from mixed martial arts. That is 100% factual. And it's just, I don't know exactly what it looks like, but I can imagine that it's not going to look the same that it did 5 years ago or even today. So
I think you're still going to get those upper echelon guys who are competing at the Olympic level who are still just going to train for that Olympic gold. I mean,
for sure,
that's what they're getting. Like a guy like David Taylor, or they're competing for that.
Well,
the
David Taylor
UFC
is
a
currently.
great route.
I was just gonna say David Taylor is currently also training mixed martial arts.
Yeah, but I mean, right now his main focus is he wants to be the best in the world in wrestling. And at the end he can go back, fall back into the UFC. I think the partnership will be great for those guys like you talked about, like a Kale Sonnen. He was a solid wrestler. I think he was All-American, maybe one time was he Oregon State somewhere?
Probably a couple times.
But either way, I mean,
Oregon.
His dreams of chasing that Olympic gold weren't as realistic as a Jordan Burroughs, right? So their paths are different. Where Jordan Burroughs, he may end up in the fighting ring, but he's going to pursue that Olympic because he's at that level. Kale Sonnen, the UFC has this part. I think that's where you're going to see maybe the guys who are in that, you got your top tier 2 or 3 guys at a weight class. Underneath that, those guys might transition out a little bit quicker into that UFC or into the fighting game or MMA, whichever it is.
Yeah, they'll probably stick around, like fewer years after, like people that transition.
They're not going to be entering the open for 10 more years, hanging on to that dream that in 2026 I might make the Olympic team. And what's crazy is you talk about, that is these guys who now have the citizenship in other countries, like we talked about the worlds, like Austin Gomez competed for Mexico. Valencia's brother competed for Mexico, I believe, right? Zahid's brother.
Yep.
But then I thought I saw something where Valencia is talking about, because I think he's at that weight class that's not an Olympic weight.
Yeah.
So he's kind of in between, and those 2 weight classes in the U.S. are pretty solid. So he may look to compete elsewhere.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, that is one clear thing that's happening all over is like there's a lot of opportunities for people to kind of like still compete and survive and stuff like that.
And
like in the past you had to make one world team, but now you can make 5 world teams.
Well, and you talk about training, like, and this is going a little further, and we're talking about these like Missick, Michigan kid. I think he probably still trains at Michigan, right?
That's where Gomez is too, though.
I think he's in Chicago,
but I mean, he's training here for Serbia to compete against our guys, and our coaches are training him, right?
Yeah.
You understand.
Right? I mean, it's crazy.
You understand we're the United
What's
States
that?
of America. We're the United States of America. We let anybody come here, we make them great, and then they move back to, they go back to their country. That is,
No, they don't.
true. That's what we are. I
Yeah,
mean,
but
it's a
I
land
just
of opportunity.
Marty, I just watched a video with you know now I'm forgetting Shane Lowry, the
Yeah,
Open champion.
yeah,
He guess where he lives? He lives in Florida,
yeah.
right?
And Jupiter, where everybody else,
Yeah,
They
all
all
the
do.
golfers live in
I
Jupiter.
mean,
that's
they
what
all live there.
well, I'm just saying though, no matter where you're from, when you come to America, you never go back. You end up living somewhere in America and just,
Yeah. Well, the best thing was they showed a picture of him, like the day and then the night they or the day that they won the trophy. And they
yeah,
always said that Shane Lowry never leaves the place. He's the last person to ever leave. They got a picture of him. There's like two people in a bar and him, and they're all around the Ryder Cup. It's
yeah.
cool as hell. He's an Irishman.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. I was just pointing out that, yeah, it just seems like they never go back. They just, because
Why would
isn't
you? Why would
Meech,
you?
isn't
Why
Meech,
would you? Yeah,
is
why would you?
Why
no,
would
no,
you?
I'm not saying that, but that's Marty said they come to America, get great, and then go back, but
Well,
they seem to,
Well, yeah, they go
in
back and
wrestling they
for
do.
their country.
yeah,
Yeah.
they visit back there. They keep their,
Yeah,
I
they have
think
a house
taxes
there.
are, yeah, I think taxes are
Yeah, it's just
higher
like
in some of
you
these
just got
states.
to have a place that you can say that you live at, an apartment
Yeah.
somewhere, and now we can go to school here.
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting. It is all changing though with like, obviously with the American wrestlers, NCAA wrestlers wrestling on other world teams. Again, I brought up the MMA stuff, and we could dive into this another time. But I think what is it, Mitch McKee? He was somebody. Oh, Blockus, that's it. Blockus had an amateur fight, I want to say, or a pro fight, and now he's going to go back to school. So he basically in the springtime said he was going to be done with college wrestling and go into MMA. I think he did some MMA, did a couple fights or something, and then now he's going to go back into the season. I think he's going to wrestle. But either way, it's getting interesting, and Marty, and it's going to be fun to talk to you guys about it because there's so much change that's going to come. It's definitely going to annoy you guys in some capacity.
I'm going to draw my
But
stick in the sand.
but they're not going to stop because you're sticking the sand.
No, but I'm gonna try to stop them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's going to be interesting to see how that impacts everything. The NIL stuff, obviously, we've just barely uncovered, like touched on. That's changing everything, and it'll be interesting where it goes because I think it actually, like what we're getting to, is like it seems like there's more opportunities than ever before for people who love wrestling to find ways to make a living and make money doing it, or make money doing something very close to it. So that is kind of cool. It's good for the sport in some capacity that more people are going to be able to do it for longer periods of time, and I think that helps out in the long run. So
You know what
it'll
else
be
they can
nice.
do though? Those kids that wrestle in college, they get that degree and they can actually go out and get a job,
Yeah, if
right?
there is one.
Yeah, that's
Oh, there are jobs everywhere.
isn't that why
Everywhere.
isn't that why you go to college?
What?
Isn't that why you're supposed to go to college?
That's what my dad told me.
I mean,
Yeah. Well, hey, I got a degree in exercise science. You know how hard it is to get people to want to take their health serious?
yeah, I do
That's
every day. Every day.
exactly. So I know a lot about health and human performance. I know very few people that want to pay me money for my services. So instead, I learned how to build websites and do marketing and do some other things. That seemed to be easier, but I didn't learn that in college. That's for sure. But
But you learned in college that you had to manage your time and you had to go to class and you had to be
yeah, I
committed.
learned a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think the interesting thing I talk about a lot is like I think I would learn from every experience. I learned from wrestling. I learned from good things in wrestling. And I learned from bad things in wrestling. I learned from, like I think if you're a learner, if you're a person who takes every experience and digests it and tries to make sense of it and improve upon yourself, obviously college can be helpful because it's no different than anything else that pushes you to do things that you don't want to do, structure your time, pay attention, be aware of deadlines, all that stuff. So just like the season of a wrestling season commits you to a certain period of time. You do it. Then from that period of time, you've constructed all these things that you can then apply to other things. So I would agree that there's a lot to like time structure, but
Without a doubt.
yeah.
Yeah.
But either way, guys, it was good chatting with you.
All right,
I'll let you
awesome.
go, and
Hey,
we'll talk soon.
You gonna share your Rockfin account with us so we could all watch that on Saturday?
Yeah, I have no idea how to get to it. My wife does.
If you do watch it, hold on. If you guys do want to watch it, and I might be home, we could watch it together as a live stream or some type of live stream or something. We could record it, or just
I'll
put
be
it
in
up.
Iowa though.
Oh, okay. Well, either way, let me know if you want to. I have Rockfin too, McNames, so maybe we can do that. Yeah, we can jump on maybe for a couple matches. We can if we jump on and talk for the 2 matches, I'll let you know.
Awesome.
All right, man.
All right, guys.
We'll talk
Thanks.
See you
Cheers.
guys.